Week 6 NFL Awards.
These are your weekly NFL awards.
Kicking things off with our most prestigious award, our Daddy of the Week, and it goes to Rico Dowdle. You know, Jerry Jones has made two things very clear in the last couple months, which is kind of impressive that someone with that level of dementia can make anything clear. But one is that he actively chose to bring in Javonte Williams to replace Rico Dowdle, and the other thing is that he made the Micah Parsons trade to help the Cowboys stop the run. Well, both of those statements aged like milk. Because not only was Javonte Williams bad in the Cowboys' Week 6 game against the Carolina Panthers, Rico Dowdle looked like the second coming of Emmitt Smith and ran right through the Cowboys' supposedly improved run defense like a hot knife through butter. Over 230 scrimmage yards for Rico for the second straight week, mind you, along with a touchdown en route to a Panthers 30-27 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. And Cowboys versus Panthers was also our game of the week. It is very clear that Jerry Jones built this roster almost exclusively for the entertainment factor, because by having such a pitiful defense, complementing or not complementing one of the very best offenses in the NFL, the Cowboys are just in these really dope shootouts every week. And that's what we had once again. On top of Rico Dowdle's performance, we had Dak Prescott showing up and showing out once again, his connection with George Pickens seemingly only getting better by the week. So yeah, this was a great game. And it ended with the Cowboys loss, which is always good. Now just real quick, while we're talking about game of the week, I do want to talk about a game that was absolutely not game of the week. Broncos Jets. Why do we keep sending these games overseas? No, seriously, because the NFL keeps saying it wants to grow the game, but I'm not so sure. Because if we really wanted to grow the game, if we really wanted to impress these London fans, we wouldn't be giving them Justin Fields versus Bo Nix 1 week after giving them Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel, which was actually kind of a good game. But that's not the point. The point is the NFL is very clearly not putting its best foot forward in terms of growing the game. You really want to grow the game? Send over some combination of the Chiefs, Bills, or Lions for once. The minute the Brits get their eyes on a game like that, they may never touch a soccer ball again. Our team of the week goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Taking down the Bills in primetime will generally get you this award, especially when you're a team that we have all been waiting to see take that next step forward. If Justin Herbert is the if man, the Falcons are definitely the if team. If they get better coaching, if they get a better defense, if they figure out how to use Bijan. Well, it seems like all of the above might finally be coming true, because the Falcons made Josh Allen's life hell all night. Bijan Robinson looks like the best player in football, and Raheem Morris and his staff are doing a pretty good job. Honorable mention goes to the New York Giants. Taking down the Eagles in primetime will also generally get you this award. And Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo are really creating a new identity for New York after their previous identity was depression. Our offensive player of the week goes to the aforementioned Bijan Robinson. I figured Rico Dowdle also had this award all but locked up until Bijan went for 238 scrimmage yards plus a touchdown himself. Remember when Arthur Smith didn't know how to use this guy? Moron. Our defensive player of the week goes to Patrick Surtain. You know, sometimes you gotta look beyond the box score for these defensive player of the week awards. I mean, hell, that's what the NFL did when they gave him defensive player of the year last year, because Surtain's not a guy that's gonna rack up a bunch of interceptions. He's just gonna lock up your best receiver and drive him absolutely crazy while he does it. And we all know what happens when you take away Justin Fields' first read. He makes big stinky in his big boy pants. Our offensive rookie of the week goes to Cam Skattebo. I'm not sure how many brain cells he has, but I do know they're all telling him to do one thing. As Marshawn Lynch would say, run through a motherfucker face. Although honestly, his brain cells probably aren't using that many words. I think they might just be barking. Over 100 total yards and 3 touchdowns in the Giants' upset win over the Eagles, forcing draft scouts and nerds across the globe to reevaluate their process. Because is Skattebo the fastest guy in the world? No. Is he the most athletic guy in the world? No. Is he even the biggest guy in the world? No. But he got that dog in him, and sometimes that's all that matters. Our defensive rookie of the week goes to Steelers defensive tackle Derek Harmon. Just 1 sack on the day, but more importantly, helped stuff the Browns' run game, which up to this point had been a force to be reckoned with. But in this game, Quinshon Judkins finally felt what it was like to be on the other end of a beating. Our breakout player of the week is a longtime favorite of mine, Chargers running back Kamani Vidal. You know, in fantasy football circles, we have this saying, never wrong, just early. That's how I feel about Kamani Vidal, because I loved this guy last year. I thought he was going to break out. I thought he was going to be the next big thing, but it just never materialized. And as it turns out, I wasn't wrong. I was just early. 18 carries for 124 yards, plus 3 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown. Vidal now has a clear runway to be the Chargers' lead back, putting some solid distance between himself and this week's Kyle Pitts Award winner, Hassan Haskins. Just as a reminder, the Kyle Pitts Award is for a guy who was all hype and no substance, and boy, was there no substance for Hassan Haskins. Now look, nobody knew exactly how the Chargers backfield was going to play out this week. We were all guessing. Kamani Vidal and Hassan Haskins were both popular fantasy football waiver ads, but most of the hype and the buzz was behind Haskins. He was the one that supposedly had the edge to be the lead back. He's the one that played under Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and yet he managed just 14 yards on 6 carries, plus 1 reception for 9 yards, as we all collectively realized, oh yeah, he's not that good at football. Comeback player of the week goes to Derrick Henry. It wasn't a massive performance from the King, but it was enough to give us some renewed optimism that he's not completely dust. Truthfully, my expectations for him were in the toilet. Ravens offense was still in shambles. They're facing a great run defense in the Los Angeles Rams. And despite those things, he managed 122 yards on the ground on 24 carries. An impressive showing given the circumstances, and I'm expecting a big second half. Now, onto our bum of the week. The worst player of the week that cost his team more than any other player because of just how stinky he was on the field. It's Fields. Justin Fields is quickly entering the conversation for worst quarterback in football. 9 for 17, for 45 passing yards. I understand it's the Broncos defense, one of the better units in the league, but 45 passing yards? Goodness gracious. And the funniest part is, Fields still doesn't have an interception on the season. But that's not a good thing. It's only true because he holds onto the ball so damn long. I mean, he took 9 sacks in this game. Brother, throw the ball. I'd rather you throw 5 picks than whatever the hell that was. Justin Fields is like a bad cell phone plan because he can't generate a reception, and he's about to force New York to switch to T-Mobile. Our fantasy football bust of the week goes to Jahmyr Gibbs. Honestly, there were a lot of busts this week, but Gibbs is just the highest profile one. 7 half PPR points is not what you drafted him in the first round to do, but also not something I'm overly worried about going forward. Just kind of one of those nights. Our Where the F Did That Come From award goes to Pop Douglas. Drake May hit Pop on the 4th play of the game for a 53-yard touchdown, and Pop should have had another long touchdown on the Patriots' 2nd drive of the game, if not for a phantom offensive pass interference penalty on Stephon Diggs, who was nowhere near the play and did nothing. Speaking of where the F did that come from, where the F is the flag? Whatever. Either way, Pop still had his best game of the season by far, finishing with 3 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown, completely shaking up what we thought we knew about the Patriots receiving pecking order. But hey, as a Patriots fan who doesn't care who catches the ball as long as someone does it, I'm all for it. Our Bugatti in the Trailer Park award goes to George Pickens. Really, the entire offense is the Bugatti, and the entire defense is the trailer park. You know, it sure would be nice if they had a real difference maker on that side of the ball, but we know how hard those kinds of guys are to come by. Still, Pickens in this offense just continue to shine week in and week out, so much so that George Pickens is also the winner of this week's Play of the Week award for hurdling this poor man like he doesn't have dreams, aspirations, a family at home. No, George Pickens just ruined his life, demoralized him, emasculated him. I think I saw his balls fall off in real time. It's honestly funny seeing how good Pickens looks and how comfortable he is in this offense. Who would have thought all he had to do to get the best out of George Pickens was to run him on some crossers once in a while, instead of just making him the sacrificial X receiver every single play. I give Jerry Jones a lot of flack, but this is one trade he definitely got right. And for maybe the first time in recorded history, there's a wide receiver trade that the Steelers got wrong. Our funniest touchdown of the week goes to Nate Adkins. This London game, man, just all sorts of disgusting and gross and weird and kind of funny, but also not really that funny. This was the only dude to find pay dirt in that London game, and I think that really just summarizes the game as a whole. Breece Hall? Nah. Garrett Wilson? No. Cortland Sutton? J.K. Dobbins? Evan Engram? Nope. Nate Adkins? You betcha. I swear these London games take place in a different universe. Our Don't Check Your DMs award for most untimely mistake of the week goes to Jaden Daniels. I suspect his DMs might be relatively clean just because Commanders fans are so thankful to even have him to begin with, but this was a really bad mistake that did cost Washington the game. A bobbled handoff that the Bears recovered, leading to a game-winning Jake Moody field goal. Maybe this was the universe getting even for that absurd Hail Mary ending in last year's game. Either way, this turnover was about as bad as it gets. On the subject though, the Will Levis award for worst play of the week, most head-scratching turnover, whatever it may be, goes to Zay Flowers. Honestly, just for his performance on the day, where he had 1 fumble credited to him, and then 1 that got credited to Cooper Rush, but was really Zay's fault. Look, the Ravens are already dealing with enough adversity. Their injury report looks like a CVS receipt. So when you're in a game that ends up being shockingly winnable, given how much the Rams were struggling on offense, you can't be fumbling the ball away twice on top of it. A really bad day for Zay Flowers. Also very funny that apparently the commentators were saying that Zay Flowers had never fumbled in his life. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if that was the case, Lamar Jackson might already have a Lombardi trophy to his name. I understand they meant he's never fumbled during the regular season, but come on. The Nathan Peterman Award goes to Tua Tagovailoa, who had another 3 interceptions on Sunday. Tua Tagovailoa stinks. The Unk Still Got It award goes to Zach Ertz. Not a ton of great performances from old dudes this week, so I'll give props to the guy who I thought was going to be out of the league like 5 years ago. 6 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. Fun fact, the first quarterback Zach Ertz ever played with was Michael Vick, and then Nick Foles, and then Mark Sanchez. I wonder what that guy's up to. Our Tom Brady award for clutch performance and general dog tendencies goes to Baker Mayfield. Dude just has the will to win, might be the MVP favorite, and led the Buccaneers to a 30-19 win over the 49ers. The main thing that earned Baker this award was a run he had in the 3rd quarter. 3rd and 14, Bucks up by just 1, and Baker scrambles 15 yards, reaching over the line for the first down. Just would not be denied. Classic Baker in every way. He may be the most entertaining quarterback in the game today. Our Nathaniel Hackett Award for worst coach goes to Aaron Glenn. Look, I still have faith that Glenn can turn it around. This is probably a more long-term reclamation project, but at the end of the day, 0-6 is 0-6, especially after whatever that dumpster fire was against the Broncos. At a certain point, we gotta call a spade a spade. He's gotta get some more out of his team. Honorable mention goes to Brian Callahan, who I cannot give this award because he is no longer a coach. Sayonara, bozo. On the opposite end of the spectrum, our Coach of the Week award goes to Jeff Ulbrich. The biggest key behind the Falcons' upset of the Bills was their defense's ability to make Josh Allen uncomfortable all night long. It seems like the Falcons finally have a competent pass rush, and that is largely thanks to defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich. And I'm happy for him, because if he captains a good enough defense, maybe the main thing he's remembered for won't be leaving his iPad out so his son can see it and prank call Shedeur Sanders on draft night. The Did Your Best award for a player thrust into a situation he really has no business being in goes to Joe Flacco. Now I know you might be saying Joe Flacco's a longtime starter in this league. Why does he have no business being in this situation? Well, because statistically, he's not much of an upgrade from Drake Browning. But more importantly, because he's going to get killed behind that offensive line. It might not be this week, it might not be next week, but it will happen eventually. Still though, even though the analytics say he's not much of an upgrade from Browning, the results were at least a little bit better for this offense against the Green Bay Packers. They only lost by 6 points, and Flacco seemed to have resurrected the corpses of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so Bengals fans will take that, if any of them are still watching. The Kadarius Toney Award for worst drop goes to Teteroa McMillan, yet another drop leading to an interception. Knock it off. On the other hand, our OBJ Award for best catch of the week goes to the resurrected Jamar Chase. What was this catch against the Packers? This should be illegal. I am calling the authorities. Bringing back the Consequences of My Own Actions Award for this week, because we need to give it to Myles Garrett, who recently expressed his frustration with the fact that the Browns lose the same way over and over. Hey buddy, you requested a trade because you wanted to be on a winning team, and then the Browns threw enough money at you that you said never mind. Yeah, it's kind of hard to feel bad for you. Have you tried crying into your $40 million a year? And last but not least, our Lord and Savior Award that typically goes to Bucky Irving goes to Sean Tucker. In Bucky's absence, giving the award to other Buccaneers running backs just feels right. And Sean Tucker, while he didn't stuff the stat sheet, did have his first rushing touchdown of the year, along with 6 carries for 25 yards. The boys are holding down the fort until Bucky gets back, and I can appreciate that. So for now, in Tucky, we sucky. Nope, that feels dirty. In Bucky, we sucky. That'll do it for this week. Let me know in the comments if there are any awards you want me to add in the future. But for now, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.